What's up, mother truckers? So subscribe to this channel. All I gotta say is, if you're thinking about a career in trucking and you're worried about whatever the recruiter, whatever the company is telling you is a lie, and you're not sure to jump the gun, then watch and subscribe to this information, because we're gonna give you insider interviews from the people that are actually working that job to see if that job is right for you. All right, I'm here to save you time and money, baby. So subscribe. Appreciate it. Let's get ready for this interview. Let's go. What is going on, mother truckers? Welcome to the Asian My Show. Today we have a special guest. We have TruckNMowBiz. How are you guys doing today?
Doing good.
We're doing good.
Awesome, awesome. So this is the team right here. You know, we talked a little bit off air, and I learned a little bit about you guys. Tell a little bit about your story and how you basically got into owning a trucking business.
Well, basically started out, from high school wanting to be an entrepreneur because I was raised that way. And Callie and me met in high school and dated in high school, and basically got married right after she graduated from college. And so she kind of knew what I was about, and her parents are entrepreneurial too. So got jobs right out of college and high school. Got laid off in the recession, and basically had the opportunity to come back. We lived in California at the time. We moved back to where we're from, which is Minnesota, and then started a lawn care company, and then did that for a while, and then we bought a semi truck, started trucking, and decided to sell the lawn business because our skills were better at the trucking business than the lawn.
No, I love that. So before we even get into the full story and trying to help people how they can maybe make some good steps forward instead of some mistakes, let me show your channel real quick to people so they can see right here, people, all you mother truckers, when you see this. All right, this is TruckNMowBiz right here. Help them out. They got great content, and they want to help you succeed in trucking because they had some struggles themselves, And so right here, I'm gonna be
say.
I would just say that Google is your best friend at that point.
I agree. I agree 1000%, guys.
We had no idea what we were doing. I just spent time on Google, like figuring stuff out. And I mean, even today, still, if I have a question, that is where the first place I go is Google. Like, I mean, I don't even know what it would be at this point, but we're pretty much self-taught with the back end of the business, which isn't always a good thing. But I mean, at that point, we didn't have a bunch of money to hire someone to do it for us. So I just figured it out and made mistakes along the way, and it wasn't perfect. But as long as you're not like making huge mistakes where really bad stuff happens, I would say jump in and start figuring it out. And also, if you don't have your CDL yet, go do that like yesterday, because that's huge for insurance companies, because they're not going to want to insure you if you're, well, I mean, they will, but they'll just charge a lot.
Oh,
the longer you have your
I didn't know that. Okay, so if you want to start a trucking business, and a lot of people, they might have some capital, but they might not, in their strategy, they're not thinking about working themselves, right? They're thinking about just buying trucks and having people drive them. If you have your CDL, that might help you out, keep the rates down for insurances and things like that.
Yeah, because they're going to want to know like who's driving your truck.
Right.
Like, and I mean, if you're just starting, you kind of have to put yourself down. Like,
exactly.
Unless you have employees. So.
And if you don't have employees, I don't even know how that works, but they're not going to want to hear about that. That's just like calling somebody up and telling them you want to work for them, but you don't have a truck or employees yet. And they're going to be like, oh, let me know when you're ready.
Right.
Don't waste my time.
I hear you. So have this conversation about trucking. So
Sounds good.
Awesome. So all right. So you sold you guys sold the lawn care business, and now you have a little bit of money, right? Some capital. So for all the people that are at this point where they have some capital saved up, right? How would they go about starting a trucking business? What advice would you have for them, guys?
Well, the technical know-how, I'll let Callie kind of talk about that, like what is technically needed. But like from my big picture standpoint, basically, we bought a $20,000 truck, and you know, we ran it like a business, like our lawn care business. You know, like we didn't even understand kind of like that. A lot of companies, a lot of like owner operators aren't used to paying for their own fuel, and they got fuel cards and stuff like that. So we just ran it like we got to pay for our own fuel right away, and you know, like that type of a way, more of an independent style. So we pretty much had $30,000 to work with, and we bought a $20,000 truck. And by the time we got our first check, we had we had $10,000 of working capital, and that was gone. Wow. By the time we got our first check. So it was
this is a couple that is entrepreneurs. They're the American dream of people that are trying to make it work. No one's going to give you the answers. No one's going to help you. You take the leap of faith and you jump in and you try to make it work. And you guys have gone from one truck or from 0 trucks to now 5 trucks. Is that right?
That's correct.
So that's an amazing story by itself. So if we were to backtrack this just a little bit, if you were brand new again, thinking about getting into the trucking business and thinking about owning your own trucks and doing this, what would be the steps that you should take? You know, what order steps should you take? Should you go get the CDL first? Should you go get the MC number first? Should you go try and find a way to get your authority? What steps would you recommend for a person trying to get into this, you know, in that chronological order?
I'm going to let Callie answer this question, but one of the things that we would kind of be good to know is your strategy of like who you're going to be working for, and if you're going to be local or over the road. You know, that I think that plays a big part in it too. Because if you're just going to go on a load board and find freight, I guess that question. Because like if you don't really, we didn't have our authority and we didn't really need it, but I encourage local drivers to have it, because I feel like the most expensive thing that can happen to a local driver is to sit when there isn't work. And to have the option to go regional is a really powerful thing, even though we don't do a lot of it. But even a lot of the work that we do, I've seen a lot of struggling truck drivers, owner operators, because they don't want to spend an extra $500 to have their proportionate plate. You know, it's crazy to me. But I'm going to let Callie answer that question.
Oh, thank
well,
you.
I was going to say, even on what you're talking about, like if somebody comes to work, wants to drive for us, like as an owner operator, I mean, them having authority is a lot more appealing, because we're like, oh, well, we can give you a lot more work, because we don't, like, maybe we do have some local stuff, but for us to commit to someone, if they can't do all of the work that we provide, it's not like we don't want people to sit either. Like that is definitely not our goal. So it's just better on that end. But back to the question, I would say to get your CDL is especially if you're going to be the one driving. I mean, obviously you can't drive a truck without your CDL. So that has to be first. And then just like Eric was saying, have a plan of what you want to do. Like, do you want to be local or over the road? And I'm a planner type person, so I say even like have a rough plan on paper. Like, what are you going to use for capital? Like, are you gonna get loans? Or are you gonna pay cash for stuff? Like, what is your end goal? Do you want to have a big trucking company, or do you want to be an owner operator? And just have that in mind. And not saying that can't change over time, because life changes. Right. But just to have, so you have something in paper in front of you. So on the hard days, you can say, you know, this is what I'm doing, and this is what I'm working toward. Would be my suggestion. And if you want to leave the state lines, I would work toward getting your MC number right away too, especially.
No.
Yeah, and then the language that you want to use if you want to line up work, it's really hard to do, I feel like. But if you want to line up work, because this is how I get new work, so I can speak on this from this point of view.
Right.
Like if I want to get into a different industry, if I want to learn about flatbedding, I'll say something like, I'll call somebody up that I want to flatbed for, and I'll say, hey, I got a flatbed sitting in the weeds. I just hired a guy that knows how to do it. He's been bugging me to get it going. It's probably going to take me a couple weeks to do that. You got any work if I get it going? And then they're like, oh yeah, let's get you signed up. So then you kind of know, and that could turn into a dead end.
Right.
That doesn't mean anything. That's no reason to celebrate. But at least, that's how I word it. I don't say I don't have it, but I'm going to buy it.
You might not have it. You might just
I don't have it.
Or
but
go buy one.
And that's a crazy thing. Like once you know what you're doing,
right? Like
starting a trucking company is so simple. Like you can lease, you can go not lease, but you can go rent. I have one of my mentors has 14 trucks, and 7 of them are rentals. He pays $4,000 a month, and they're straight up rental trucks. They're not leases. You rent them. You don't have to pay for your license plate. You don't have to pay for tires that way, or anything. And you pay at the end of the month. So you could literally, and they do your IFTA.
Right.
So you could literally go rent a truck. So I used to be limited on my thinking, but I'm just saying, if I want to expand now, it's just you got to get a network together of, when you don't know what to do, who are you going to call that can help you do that? And once you've got that, it's a lot easier to run it. But I don't want to, basically what I'm saying is that strategy is, I don't have a flatbed. I might not have a flatbed, but I'm misleading him. But I'm just
you're just
person
digging.
I want to talk to. But
you're just digging. You're digging and you're trying to find information. And, you don't want to go in blindly. It's like if you want to.
You don't want to tell them that you don't have it. You don't want to tell them you don't have it because they're not going to give you the time and date.
I agree. 100%. So all you mother truckers, this is a good strategy planning. And when it really comes down to it, it's about if the work is there. Let's be honest. If the work is there, if someone says, hey, if you got 10 trucks right now, I have enough work for all 10 of your trucks. Even if you only have 1 truck, you make that work. If the numbers work, go rent out the 9. It's more about what are your expenses and how much money you're actually putting in your pocket. And if it makes sense, do it, right?
Yep.
And so, no, I love that.
Yeah,
I love that.
You can break even till you can be profitable too, So, and that's the way that Callie and me look at it. If you can create a relationship with somebody, don't limit yourself to saying, just make it happen basically, because that's the hardest part is getting these good contracts, and you don't want to overcommit though and piss somebody off either. The DOT officer, and we asked him, hey, we want to make sure we're legit and we got this going. And he's like, oh yeah, come on, come in, let me check it out. And he was really cool and stuff. And he politely was confused and said, hey, you got to turn around. You don't have your authority. I was like, no, we got our authority. We got our own plates. He's like, no, you don't have your authority. So then he told us about that. So we just had, like I said, bought our own trailer. We just had told the broker that we were working for that we're done and we're going to do this. And basically what ended up happening was we had an oh shit moment. We're like, this is not good. So I was like, okay, no big deal. Who do we got to get in touch with to get our authority? And he's like, yeah, you just got to go to this, whatever the website was, and Callie would do that, right? So then I was like, okay, well, yeah, we'll get that done. And he's like, it takes a month and a half to get your authority. And I was like, what? I just bought this new trailer. Like, I got to work. Like, I can't be, like, so it was a bad,
right,
very bad problem.
Right.
Very bad problem. We were like, just like being an entrepreneur all the time, your highs are high and your lows are super low. We were all fired up about the new trailer, and then we were depressed, like, can't even use it, and
Right.
what are we going to do now? So that was one of the biggest mistakes we ever made right there.
So where do you go for authority? Let's answer these questions right now. So where does one go for an MC number? Where do they go for authority? What is a IFTA? Can you let the people know what you've learned about this so that they might be able to be caught up and make sure that they have all their ducks in a row?
Yeah, well, in full transparency, it's been a while since I actually got our authority number. So I just went to the DOT website, and then there's like, I think it takes about 90 minutes or something, they say, and they just fill out paperwork about, like, what's your business, I think they do ask for some credit references, but I think I just left that blank, actually. I don't know. It's just a form you fill out, almost like you're buying a house or whatever.
Right.
And then you have to have an agent, process agent, I think it's called, which, as far as my understanding is, it's more for, everyone has to have it who has an MC number, but it's more for, like, over-the-road truckers who, if they get into an accident, they're kind of like your liaison in that state. So they're not really dealing with you in Minnesota if you get into an accident in Florida. It's kind of like your lawyer, middleman type person that
Right.
represents you in the state of Florida or whatever state you're in. So I did not know about that until I applied for our MC number. But really, it was just a form that you fill out. So when people say, "Oh, we hired a company to get my MC number," I'm like, "Really? Like, it's just a form. It's really not that big of a deal." So unless you're completely don't have time, if you
Right.
save the time, or just
If you have enough money, go ahead and hire it out. But if you don't, then
it's not
that
like
hard.
it's just super difficult.
I love that.
And then if it was a bit more difficult for us to figure out, not difficult wise, but just a good system for us to figure out, especially once we had drivers driving our trucks, because like we said, we didn't know what we were doing. We were just whatever. So it took us a couple tries to have a good spreadsheet system, and so that our drivers were communicating with us, because there were multiple quarters where I was literally in our living room crying because I could not figure out if then it was due that day. Like, it was
Wow.
a mess. There was receipts everywhere. The mileage wasn't lining up quite right, and so it took us some learning curve to figure that out too.
Wow.
Like, a lot. Like, we didn't get that figured out till like a year ago, probably. So we struggled with that for a long. Just a good system.
Can other mother truckers, can they jump on? Can they comment to you guys if they kind of have a question? If they're in one of these stages, would you guys be willing to give them some extra advice?
Yep, we will. And what I usually do is I just say leave a comment on a video that you watch, and then I'm not, like, right now, I just usually just respond with a video, in-depth response. And then another thing is that Callie she's kind of doesn't like being on the camera and stuff, but I've been telling her she's got lots of knowledge that I don't have. Like, we run different parts of the business, so she's going to start answering a lot of the technical, like how to start a trucking business. She's going to help me out with the channel with that. So
I love
so
it.
that'll be good.
I appreciate you both for being on the show, and I wish you guys the most success.
Yeah, thanks for having us on.
No, thank you. You guys have a great day.
Yep, bye.
Bye.